Hi, my name is Melissa Daniels and I have strabismus. Strabismus is when your eyes do not point in the same direction, and I have been working to overcome this for the last 4 years. Now, that's not when this story began. It started when I was diagnosed at 4 months old. And that's what this video series that I'm doing right now is about, is how I started and how I got to where I am today. What surgeries and interventions doctors tried early on in my life, the struggles that I faced, and how I eventually came upon vision therapy. So if you want to know the very beginning of the story, you've got to go watch the previous video. But this video is going to be all about those teenage years and what school was like with strabismus. Now, at this point in my life, I was no longer wearing glasses or patching, and I didn't have stereo vision. I also didn't have double vision. I was completely suppressing my right eye. I could see out of it. My vision was 20/30 in my right eye, 20/25 or 20/20 in my left, but I just didn't use it. My brain ignored it. And I had a slight eye turn all the time, about 15 diopters constantly. And then sometimes when I was really tired or sick, it would go out to 30 to 35. So it wasn't necessarily, I wouldn't be considered an intermittent exotropia because my eyes were never actually straight, but they did appear to be straight to the naked eye. I'm sure an eye doctor would have noticed. So what did this mean for school? I was definitely a dedicated student. I took all the AP and honors classes and I worked really hard, but I really struggled with reading comprehension. And reading in general, I was a very slow reader, and I didn't realize this had anything to do with my eyes. I just thought I wasn't as smart as other people. And so I remember in honors English in 9th grade, we would read these crazy books like, what were some of them? Like by the big authors, the one with Pip. I can't remember. Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. I specifically remember that one, and I just remember reading page after page and having no idea what was going on. I found the spark notes for this book, and I talked to my teacher and I said, okay, I can't understand this book. Are you okay if I read the chapter in spark notes so I know what's going on, and then I'll read the chapter in the real book? And you know, that was back when teachers were like, I don't know, maybe teachers are still like this. They're like, you can't use spark notes. You need to actually read the book, and spark notes is terrible. Don't ever use that. Like, it was a big, big no-no. And so when I came to my teacher and said, I need this, she was very confused, but she said, I guess it's okay as long as you read the book. And I was like, okay, good. And so that was me advocating for myself. I didn't even know that I was, but that was the help I knew I needed. And that's how I got through all of my English classes and books that I had to read throughout high school. So I opted for math and science. I'm actually a math teacher is my profession. And that was because I didn't have to read, I'm sure. And I enjoy math. I think I have a math brain and reading is hard. So there you go. And I did end up going to an eye doctor because I was complaining about this. I was like, I can't read. I can't understand what I'm reading. And I also played the piano and I couldn't read the music. And so I knew something was going on with my eyes, and I kind of complained about this to my parents. And so my mom, or maybe my dad, I can't remember. My parents were not married, but somebody found a doctor close to us in California, and I think it was a vision therapy office. And we went in and they did a bunch of testing on me and basically told me like I needed to be in special ed. Like I was 16 or 15 and I was reading on the level of a 6th grader and like horrible comprehension. And they really did, like the way they presented the information to my mom and I, they definitely acted like, yeah, she needs to be in special classes and at school. And my mom's like, no, she's smart, she's driven. And so she's like, I don't want my daughter to have confidence issues. So we did not sign up for vision therapy or whatever it was. I don't know what it was. College was like a different level. I went to BYU, which is a very, I thought it was challenging. I again noticed that something was going on with my eye. And so I went to an optometrist and they basically were like, your eyes. I'm like, I think it was because this eye was tired and it wasn't working very well. And he told me I could patch. And I tried patching for approximately like 2 hours. And I was like, never mind, I'll be fine. I'm not patching. And I remember my roommates, like one of them was an artist. And so I had like a skin colored patch and she drew an eyeball on it so people wouldn't notice. and it was real bad. It was not good. Oh, it was so bad. So we laughed and had some good times in our apartment, and then the patch was removed and I never really looked back. And I was able to get through college somehow. I studied like crazy. In order for me to learn the material, I couldn't just read it. I had to make tons and tons of flashcards and study. So I felt like I would study 2 or 3 times as much as everybody else and get the same grade on the test, which was a little frustrating, but luckily I was good at math. So at least I had math. Oh man. So by the time I got done with college though, like in daily life, I was able to do everything I needed to do with the eyes the way they were. And so I really didn't worry about it again for a while. My eye turn, I know that's a question a lot of people have, is like, what about the eye turn? What about the eye turn? And it was there. Nobody ever talked to me about it except for one kid. His name was Chris McMillan in like 8th grade. He's like, what's wrong with your eye? I'm like, nothing. He's like, yeah, it is. It's not pointing straight. And I was like, yes, it is. This is 8th grade for you, right? And he's like, and he was kind of confused. And I was like, I used to have eye problems when I was little, but my eyes are better now. Okay, so that was my attitude. I didn't recognize that my eye turned when I was tired. I remember getting pictures back from prom and being like, why isn't my eye not straight? And being kind of confused and disappointed, but I still put them in my scrapbook. I don't know, like, I just think I was a little bit oblivious to the whole eye turn thing. I've since gone back and asked, like I had 2 best friends all through junior high, high school, and college, and they said, oh yeah, your eye would turn when you were tired or something, but it wasn't like all the time, and we didn't notice it all the time. So I was able to get through school. I was able to do well. I had a high GPA. I did great in college. I graduated with a degree in math education, but it wasn't easy. And my eyes were a stumbling block there, but I really didn't do any sort of treatment for strabismus during that whole time from age 12 until age like 31 or 32. And so I was able to function okay in life. I was able to drive. I was able to date and get married, and all of those things were fine. It wasn't great and it wasn't ideal. It could have been so much better, and I had no idea, but it wasn't horrible. And I figured it out. Like, I think that having strabismus made me a more flexible and creative person, because I had this disadvantage that I didn't even know existed, and so I learned to like overcome and work through it. I tell you this because if you're a parent watching this and you're worried about your kid having success in life, just stop now. Strabismus is not a death sentence. They can completely have success in life, have an amazing life, even if you do 9 years of patching glasses and surgery and don't really get that great of a result like me, right? But my eyes were straight enough. I was able to function. And so just move forward with what you have. In the next video, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what it was like having an eye turn as I was raising kids. I'm still raising kids, but when I was having my babies, and what finally got me to the point where I knew I needed to fix my vision. If you want to be alerted when that comes out, go ahead and subscribe to this channel, or just check back next Friday, and I'll see you then.